A Werewolf Shifter Romance, written by Amelia Hart. Chapter 1. Desperation's Price. The fluorescent lights hum overhead as Nora Reed pushes her cleaning cart down the empty corridor of the Iron Fang Corporation's 20th floor. It's 2:47 a.m. on a Thursday, and the building is silent except for the soft squeak of her cart's wheels against polished marble. She's worked this route for 3 months now, long enough to memorize every security camera angle, every blind spot, every pattern in the night guard's rounds. Long enough to plan what she's about to do. Her hands tremble slightly as she guides the cart past the executive offices, past the conference rooms with their floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the sleeping city. The medical supply depot is at the end of this hallway, tucked behind an unmarked door that most people wouldn't look at twice. But Nora has looked. She's studied the keypad, watched the delivery personnel enter their codes, pieced together the pattern through weeks of careful observation. 4-year-old Finn's face flashes through her mind. Her son, growing thinner each day despite everything she tries. The doctors can't explain it. Every test comes back inconclusive. Every specialist shakes their head with the same baffled expression. Meanwhile, her baby wastes away, his honey-colored eyes growing duller as his small body refuses to accept the treatments they prescribe. But there's one medication she hasn't tried yet. One treatment the doctors mentioned briefly before dismissing it as too experimental, too expensive, too risky to prescribe without proper authorization. The kind of medication that sits in secured depots like this one, available only to those with money or connections. Nora has neither. But she has desperation. And tonight, that's enough. She stops at the depot door, glancing down the hallway. Empty. The guard won't make his rounds for another 12 minutes. Her fingers hover over the keypad, and for a moment, doubt creeps in. This isn't who she is. She works 2 jobs, follows the rules, teaches Finn about honesty and doing the right thing. Then she remembers the way he struggled to breathe yesterday morning, the way his small hand felt too fragile in hers, and she punches in the code. The lock clicks. The door swings open. Inside, the depot is smaller than she expected, lined with white shelves holding neatly labeled boxes and bottles. The temperature is cool, controlled, and the air carries the sharp scent of antiseptic. Nora's heart hammers against her ribs as she moves quickly through the rows, scanning labels until she finds what she needs. Morpholin 7, the experimental treatment that might, just might, give Finn a chance. She grabs 3 bottles, shoving them into the hidden pocket she sewed into her cleaning uniform last night. Her hands shake so badly she nearly drops the 4th, catching it at the last second. The glass is cold against her palm, and guilt twists in her stomach, even as relief floods through her. She can do this. She can save her son. Nora turns to leave, and something falls from her pocket. She freezes, looking down at the small photograph lying face up on the sterile floor. It's Finn's school picture. The one where he's smiling despite his illness, his honey-colored eyes bright with the innocent joy only children can manage. She must have tucked it in her pocket this morning, a talisman to remind her why she's doing this. She reaches for it, but footsteps echo from somewhere distant in the building. The guard, making an early round. Panic surges through her, and Nora bolts, leaving the photo behind as she slips out of the depot and pulls the door shut. She forces herself to walk calmly back to her cart, to breathe normally, to look like just another exhausted cleaning woman finishing her shift. The medications feel heavy in her pocket, a physical weight that matches the guilt pressing down on her chest. But when she thinks of Finn, of giving him these treatments and watching color return to his cheeks, the guilt becomes bearable. She can live with being a thief if it means her son lives at all. Nora's apartment is on the 4th floor of a building that has seen better decades. The elevator hasn't worked in months, so she climbs the stairs, her exhausted legs protesting each step. It's almost 5 a.m. now, and she needs to catch 2 hours of sleep before her morning shift at the diner starts. Inside, their tiny 1-bedroom apartment is dark and quiet. She checks on Finn, finding him asleep in his small bed, his breathing shallow but steady. His brown curls are damp with sweat, and she gently brushes them back from his forehead. He doesn't wake, lost in whatever dreams 4-year-olds have. "I got it, baby," she whispers. "I got the medicine that's going to help you." She's halfway to the kitchen, planning to hide the bottles before catching a few hours of sleep, when someone knocks on the door. Nora's blood turns to ice. It's 5 a.m. Nobody knocks at 5 a.m. unless something is very, very wrong. The knock comes again, firm and patient. Her mind races. Could they have caught her already? Could the cameras have seen something she missed? She moves to the door on trembling legs, peering through the peephole. A man stands in the hallway, and Nora's breath catches. He's tall, probably over 6 feet, with dark hair and a presence that seems to fill the narrow corridor. He's dressed in dark jeans and a black shirt, and there's something about the way he stands, perfectly still, perfectly balanced, that triggers every prey instinct she didn't know she had. His eyes lift to the peephole, as if he knows exactly where she's looking, and Nora jerks back. Those eyes are silver gray, too bright in the dim hallway, and for a second, she swears they flash with something that isn't quite human. Nora Reed. His voice carries through the door, deep and resonant. I know you're there. I need to speak with you about what happened tonight at Iron Fang Corporation. Her stomach drops. They know. Of course they know. She was stupid to think she could get away with this. I don't know what you're talking about, she calls back, hating how her voice shakes. You've got the wrong person. I have the right person, and the photo you left behind makes that rather indisputable. There's a pause. Your son is very handsome. He has your eyes. Rage and fear war inside her chest. How dare he mention Finn? How dare he threaten her child? She yanks the door open, stepping into the hallway and pulling it shut behind her to keep their conversation from waking her son. Don't you dare talk about my son, she hisses, keeping her voice low. Whatever you think I did, I know exactly what you did. The man, and up close he's even more intimidating, radiating a kind of contained power that makes her want to step back, studies her with those unsettling silver eyes. You broke into a secured medical depot and stole approximately $4,000 worth of experimental medications. Nora's last hope crumbles. Then arrest me. Call the police. Do whatever you're going to do, but leave my son out of this. I'm not here to arrest you. He tilts his head slightly, and there's something predatory in the gesture. I'm here to offer you a deal. A deal? She laughs, but there's no humor in it. What kind of deal? The kind where you avoid prison, and your son gets the treatment he actually needs. His eyes narrow slightly. The medication you stole won't work, by the way. Morpholin 7 is designed for human blood disorders. Your son's condition is different. Cold dread washes over her. How do you know about his condition? Who the hell are you? My name is Cade Ironfang. I own the building you were cleaning tonight, and I know about your son's condition because I can sense what he is. He takes a step closer, and Nora finds herself backing against her apartment door. Just like I can sense what you are, even if you don't know it yourself yet. You're insane. But even as she says it, something in his words resonates with a truth she can't explain. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. Explain to them why you broke into my medical depot. Explain how you'll pay for a lawyer while your son continues to deteriorate. Cade's expression softens slightly, just enough to make him seem almost human. Or you can listen to what I'm offering. A chance to save him. A chance to understand why he's sick in the first place. Nora stares at this stranger who somehow knows impossible things about her son, about her. Every instinct screams that she should run, should grab Finn and disappear into the city. But there's something in Cade's eyes. Not cruelty, not threat, but something that might actually be concern. What do you want from me? She asks finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Cade's mouth curves into the ghost of a smile. To talk. Inside, preferably where your neighbors won't overhear what I'm about to tell you about your son's real condition. Nora's hand finds the doorknob behind her, and she realizes she's about to make a choice that will change everything. Let this dangerous stranger into her home, or watch her son continue to waste away while she goes to prison for trying to save him. She opens the door. Chapter 2. The Impossible Truth. Cade Ironfang stands in Nora's cramped living room, and somehow the space feels even smaller with him in it. His presence fills every corner. A weight that has nothing to do with his physical size, and everything to do with the way he carries himself. Authority radiates from him in waves that make Nora's instincts scream warnings she doesn't understand. "You can't seriously expect me to believe any of this," she says, keeping her voice low so Finn won't wake. "Shifters? Werewolves? That's fiction. That's movies and bad romance novels." "Is it?" Cade moves to the window, looking out at the city beginning to wake under the pre-dawn sky. "Then explain your son's symptoms. Explain why every human doctor looks at his blood work and finds nothing wrong, while he continues to fade. Explain why you've felt different your whole life, like you don't quite fit in your own skin." Nora's breath catches. She has felt that way, for as long as she can remember. Like there's something just beneath her surface. Something restless and wild that she can never quite reach. She's always attributed it to anxiety, to stress, to the 1,000 small traumas of growing up poor and alone. "Lucky guess," she manages. It's not a guess. Cade turns back to face her, and his eyes catch the dim light from the kitchen in a way that seems wrong. Too bright, too reflective, like an animal's eyes in headlights. "Your son is dying because he's half shifter, and his body is rejecting the human side. Or maybe it's rejecting the shifter side. Either way, the conflict is killing him slowly." That's insane. But even as she says it, pieces start clicking together in her mind. The way Finn has always been sensitive to sounds no one else hears. The way he sometimes growls in his sleep, an inhuman sound that no 4-year-old should be able to make. The way dogs either love him instantly or cower away. "I can prove it to you," Cade says quietly. "But once I do, there's no going back. You'll know the truth about what exists in the shadows of your world. Are you ready for that?" Nora thinks about Finn sleeping in the next room, his small chest rising and falling with breaths that come too shallow. She thinks about the stolen medications in her pocket that won't work, that can't help him because his illness isn't human at all. "Show me," she says. Cade's eyes meet hers, and something passes between them. A moment of understanding, of recognition. Then he steps back, giving himself space, and Nora watches as the impossible happens. His eyes change first, the gray-silver brightening to an inhuman glow. Then his features shift subtly, becoming sharper, more predatory. It's not a full transformation. He doesn't become a wolf before her eyes, but it's enough. Enough to see the beast living just beneath his skin. Enough to know that everything he said is true. Nora's legs give out, and she sinks onto the worn couch. "Oh my God, I'm sorry." Cade's voice is rougher now, carrying an edge that wasn't there before. He blinks, and his eyes return to normal, the otherworldly glow fading. "I know this is a lot to process." A lot to process. Nora laughs, but it's a broken sound. "You're telling me my son is dying because he's part monster. Not a monster." There's steel in Cade's voice now. "A shifter. We're not monsters, Nora. We're just different. We've existed alongside humans for thousands of years, living in the spaces between your world and ours. And you can cure him? You can actually save my son." "I can." Cade moves closer. And this time, Nora doesn't flinch away. But the treatment is complex. It will take months, and it requires resources I can only provide on my own territory. You would need to come with me. Both of you. Nora's mind races. Leave everything? Her jobs, her apartment, the life she's built through sheer stubborn determination? But what life will Finn have if she doesn't? "What's the catch?" she asks, because there's always a catch. "What do you want in return?" "You'll work for me. Pay off the debt you incurred by stealing from my depot." Cade's expression is unreadable. 6 months of service, and your son gets the treatment he needs. After that, you're free to go. What kind of service? Nora hates how small her voice sounds, but she needs to know. She needs to understand what she's agreeing to. "Nothing that will harm you or compromise your dignity." Cade's tone is firm. "You'll work in my household, help with various tasks. Think of it as a job with room and board included. You'll be under my protection, which means no one can touch you or your son. In my world, that's worth more than you realize." Nora looks toward Finn's room, where her baby sleeps, unaware that his mother is negotiating with a monster. No, a shifter, for his life. What choice does she really have? Watch him die, or trust this stranger who claims he can save him. I need to think about it, she starts to say, but Finn's voice cuts her off. Mommy? He stands in the doorway, small and fragile in his dinosaur pajamas, his honey-colored eyes wide. Who's the wolf man? Nora's heart stops. Baby, go back to bed. It's still early. He smells like the forest. Finn takes a step closer to Cade, and Nora moves instinctively to intercept. But Cade raises a hand. It's all right. He crouches down to Finn's level, making himself smaller, less threatening. Hello, Finn. Your mother is right. I am a wolf, but I'm also a man, and I'm here to help you feel better. I don't feel good, Finn admits, and the simple honesty of it breaks Nora's heart. My tummy hurts all the time, and my head feels fuzzy. I know. Cade's voice is gentle in a way Nora wouldn't have expected from someone so intimidating. But I can make that go away. Would you like that? Finn nods, then looks at his mother for permission. The trust in his eyes is absolute, and Nora realizes she's already made her decision. She made it the moment she broke into that depot, the moment she chose to do whatever it took to save her son. Okay, she says, and the word feels like jumping off a cliff. We'll come with you. But I have conditions. Cade straightens, his attention shifting back to her. Name them. I want to see where we'll be staying before I agree to anything. I want to meet the person who'll be treating Finn, and if at any point I feel like we're in danger, we leave. No arguments, no threats. We just go. Fair enough. Cade pulls out his phone. Even shifters have smartphones, apparently, and makes a call. Owen? I need you to bring the car to the address I'm texting you. We have passengers. He ends the call and looks at Nora. Pack what you need for a few days. We'll send for the rest once you've seen the estate and decided to stay. And if I decide not to stay, then I'll bring you back here, and you'll have to watch your son die slowly, while human doctors puzzle over a condition they can't understand. There's no cruelty in Cade's voice, just brutal honesty. I'm offering you a chance, Nora. The only chance your son has. But the choice is still yours. An hour later, Nora finds herself in the back of a sleek black SUV, holding Finn as he dozes against her shoulder. The city gives way to suburbs, then to open road, then finally to a private drive that winds through dense forest. The estate, because that's the only word for it, appears like something from a dream. The main house is massive, built of stone and timber in a style that somehow manages to look both modern and ancient. Smaller buildings dot the surrounding property, and Nora can see people moving between them, going about their morning routines. It looks normal, almost idyllic, except for the way everyone stops to stare as the SUV passes. They can sense you, Cade says from the front passenger seat. They know you're human, and they're curious. Curious? Nora repeats. Is that going to be a problem? Not under my protection. There's weight behind those words, a promise and a threat rolled into one. The SUV stops in front of the main house, and a woman emerges. She's in her 40s, Nora guesses, with silver streaking through her dark hair and sharp eyes that miss nothing. She's dressed in simple clothes, jeans and a sweater, but she carries herself with the confidence of someone used to authority. This is Victoria Gray, Cade says as they exit the vehicle. She's the best healer in 3 territories. Victoria, this is Nora Reed and her son Finn. Victoria's eyes fix on Finn, and Nora sees recognition flicker across her face. Bring him inside. I need to examine him immediately. The next 2 hours pass in a blur of questions, tests, and medical equipment that looks far more advanced than anything Nora has seen in human hospitals. Victoria is thorough, gentle with Finn, but relentless in her examination. She takes blood samples, checks his reflexes, asks questions about his symptoms and medical history. Finally, she steps back and looks at Nora with an expression that's equal parts concern and fascination. Your son is half shifter, she confirms. His body is trying to manifest abilities it doesn't have the genetic foundation to support. It's like having an immune system that attacks itself. Without intervention, he has perhaps 2 months left. With treatment, I can stabilize him within weeks and fully cure him within 6 months. The room tilts around Nora. 2 months. She almost waited too long. But there's something else. Victoria continues, her gaze intensifying. Your blood work shows traces of dormant shifter genetics, very faint, but present. Have you ever been told anything about your parents? Your family history? I grew up in foster care, Nora says, her voice sounding distant to her own ears. I don't know anything about my biological family. Victoria exchanges a look with Cade that Nora can't quite read. I'd like to do some additional testing. With your permission, of course. Will it help Finn? It might help us understand his condition better, yes. Then do it. As Victoria prepares to take another blood sample, Cade's phone buzzes. He steps away to take the call, his voice too low for Nora to hear. When he returns, his expression is carefully neutral. But Nora catches something in his eyes. Curiosity, maybe, or concern. I'm ordering a full background investigation, he tells Victoria. I want to know everything about Nora's family history. Quietly. Understood. Nora wants to protest, wants to demand to know why her past matters, but exhaustion crashes over her. She's been awake for over 24 hours. She's just learned that monsters are real, and her son is part of a world she never knew existed. The questions can wait. There are rooms prepared for you, Cade says, his voice gentler now. Rest. We'll talk more later once you've processed all of this. As a staff member leads them through the massive house to a suite of rooms that's bigger than her entire apartment, Nora catches sight of herself in a mirror. She looks lost, overwhelmed, completely out of her depth. But when she looks at Finn, already perking up slightly after Victoria's initial treatment, she knows she made the right choice. Whatever it costs her, whatever this world holds, she'll face it. For him, she'll face anything. Chapter 3. Territory and Threat. 3 weeks have passed since Nora arrived at the Kingdom Estate, and she's learned that adapting to a world where monsters are real is easier than she expected. Or maybe she's just too exhausted to resist anymore. Finn's transformation has been remarkable. The treatments Victoria administers twice daily have brought color back to his cheeks, energy to his small body. He runs through the estate grounds now, laughing in ways Nora thought she'd never hear again. Yesterday, she watched him play with other children, shifter children, and felt her heart expand with gratitude, even as fear whispered warnings about how different he is, how different she is. Nora herself works from dawn until evening, paying off her debt in whatever ways Cade's household requires. Some days she helps in the kitchens, learning to prepare meals for a community of 200 shifters. Other days she works in the administrative offices, filing reports and organizing documents that reference things like territorial boundaries and pack hierarchies. The work isn't difficult, but it's constant, and it keeps her too busy to dwell on how completely her life has changed. The nights are hers, though, and she spends them in the estate's library, devouring books about shifter history and law. She needs to understand this world, needs to know the rules that govern these creatures who can kill with their bare hands, but choose to live by codes older than human civilization. The books are fascinating and terrifying in equal measure, full of customs that seem both barbaric and oddly noble. Tonight she's reading about the Council of Alphas, the governing body that oversees all shifter territories in North America, when Owen finds her curled up in one of the leather chairs. Still studying? He asks, his tone gentle but amused. Owen has been kind to her these past weeks, explaining things when she's confused, never making her feel stupid for not knowing what everyone else considers basic knowledge. I'm trying to understand the difference between territorial law and pack law, Nora admits, gesturing at the heavy tome in her lap. They seem to contradict each other sometimes. That's because they do. Owen settles into the chair across from her, his red hair catching the lamplight. Territorial law governs interactions between packs. Pack law governs behavior within a pack. When they conflict, the Alpha King, Cade, has to mediate. It's one of the reasons his position exists. It seems complicated. It is, but you're learning faster than most humans would. Owen's expression grows more serious. There's a council meeting tomorrow. Cade wants you there. Nora's stomach drops. Why? I'm just working off my debt. I'm not part of any of this political stuff. You became part of it the moment you set foot on Kingdom territory. The other alphas know about you. Know that Cade is harboring a human thief and her half-blood son. Some of them aren't happy about it. Owen leans forward, his voice dropping. Stay in the back. Don't speak unless spoken to. And whatever you do, don't react to anything Jesse Callahan says. Who's Jesse Callahan? Alpha of the Nightfang Pack. He's been challenging Cade's authority for years, looking for any weakness he can exploit. Having you here gives him ammunition. Nora thinks about this as she lies in bed later, staring at the ceiling. She knew her presence would complicate things for Cade, but she hadn't realized she might actually endanger his position. The guilt twists in her stomach, mixing with fear. If Jesse Callahan decides to make her his target, what can she possibly do to defend herself? The council chamber is nothing like Nora expected. Instead of some medieval throne room, it's a modern conference hall with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the forest. 20 alphas sit around an enormous table, and the pressure of their combined presence makes the air feel thick, hard to breathe. These aren't just powerful people. They're apex predators barely contained in human skin. Nora stands in the back as Owen instructed, trying to make herself invisible. She can feel eyes on her, assessing, judging. Most of the alphas ignore her after the initial curious glance, but one man watches her with an intensity that makes her skin crawl. Jesse Callahan. She recognizes him from Owen's description. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair and eyes that seem to miss nothing. He's handsome in a brutal way, but there's something in his expression that sets off every alarm bell in Nora's head. Let's address the elephant in the room, Jesse says, his voice cutting through the preliminary discussions like a blade. You're harboring a human criminal on Kingdom grounds, Cade. A thief who violated our security and endangered our secrecy. What message does that send? Cade's expression doesn't change, but Nora can see tension in his shoulders. It sends the message that mercy and justice aren't mutually exclusive. Nora Reed stole medication to save her dying son. She's paying her debt through service, and her child is receiving the treatment he needs. Both outcomes serve the greater good. The greater good. Jesse laughs, but there's no humor in it. The greater good is maintaining the boundaries between our world and theirs. She knows what we are now. What happens when she leaves here and tells everyone about us? She won't, Cade says flatly. She understands the consequences. Does she? Or are you just hoping she does because you're too soft to do what's necessary? Jesse's gaze shifts to Nora, and she feels pinned beneath it. We have laws for a reason. Humans who discover our existence are either bound to us through mating or they're eliminated. Those are the only options that have kept us safe for thousands of years. Nora's blood turns to ice. Eliminated. He's talking about killing her. Several alphas murmur agreement, and Nora realizes with growing horror that this isn't just Jesse's opinion. It's apparently standard practice. Cade brought her here knowing she'd either have to stay forever or die. The gratitude she's felt toward him curdles into something bitter. Nora Reed poses no threat to our security, Cade says, his voice carrying the weight of command. She has no one to tell, no connections to expose us to. Her only concern is her son's welfare, which depends on our continued goodwill. She's not going to risk that. So you say. Jesse stands, placing his hands on the table. But I've done some investigating, Alpha King. Your little human thief is more interesting than she appears. Tell me, Nora, why did you target Ironfang Corporation specifically? Out of all the medical facilities in the city, why choose the one belonging to the Alpha King? Nora's mind races. The truth is she didn't know the building had anything to do with shifters. She chose it because she worked there, because she knew the security patterns. But Jesse's tone suggests he thinks there's more to it. Some hidden agenda. I worked there, she says, her voice steadier than she feels. I knew the building layout. That's all. Convenient. Jesse's smile is cold. Or perhaps someone told you what to look for. Perhaps you're not acting alone. That's ridiculous, Nora says, anger overriding caution. I'm a single mother who was trying to save her son. There's no conspiracy, no grand plan. I'm sorry if that's too boring for whatever paranoid fantasy you're constructing. The room goes very quiet. Owen makes a small sound that might be a groan. Several alphas lean back in their chairs, watching with increased interest. Jesse's expression darkens. You dare speak to me that way, human? I dare speak the truth. Nora steps forward, her hands clenched at her sides. You want to paint me as some kind of threat because it supports whatever power play you're making against Cade. But I've seen the reports you filed last month claiming Cade was mismanaging territorial resources. I've also seen the actual financial records because I'm the one who organized them. Your numbers were fabricated. Jesse goes very still. What did you say? 3 weeks ago, you filed a complaint with the council about Cade's resource allocation. You claimed he was hoarding medical supplies in Kingdom territory, leaving other packs undersupplied. But the distribution logs show equal allocation across all territories. You lied. Nora's voice gains strength as she continues. And last year, you filed a report claiming Cade violated territorial boundaries during a hunt. But the GPS data from the tracking collars, which I also organized, proves his pack never crossed into your lands. You lied then, too. The silence in the room is absolute. Nora realizes what she's just done, accused an alpha of dishonesty in front of the entire council, and terror floods through her, but it's too late to take it back. Jesse's face contorts with rage. You dare. Enough. Cade's voice cracks through the tension. Nora, sit down. Jesse, you'll have opportunity to respond to these accusations, but not by threatening a human under my protection. Your protection? Jesse's laugh is ugly. Since when do you protect liars and thieves? She's making wild accusations without proof. I have proof, Nora interrupts, her fear giving way to stubborn determination. I can show you the files. I can show you exactly where the discrepancies are, because I'm the one who's been digitizing your paper records for 3 weeks. I know what you filed versus what actually happened. Jesse looks like he wants to rip her throat out. This isn't over, he says, his voice dropping to a growl. Not by a long shot. He storms from the chamber, and several of his allies follow. The remaining alphas exchange glances, some impressed, others wary. Well, one of them says dryly, that was entertaining. Cade's eyes find Nora's across the room, and she can't read his expression. Anger, concern, pride, maybe all three. We'll recess for today, he announces. Owen, escort Nora back to her quarters. The rest of you, I want those files Nora mentioned pulled for review. If Jesse has been falsifying reports, we need to know the extent of it. As Owen hurries her from the chamber, his hand tight on her elbow, Nora's adrenaline begins to crash. I just made an enemy of an alpha, didn't I? Not just any alpha, Owen says grimly. You made an enemy of Cade's primary rival. Jesse has been looking for any excuse to challenge Cade's authority, and you just humiliated him in front of the entire council. He's going to come after you, Nora. Hard. I couldn't just let him lie about Cade like that. I know. And for what it's worth, what you did was brave. Stupid, but brave. Owen's expression softened slightly. Cade won't let anything happen to you. You're under his protection now, officially. That means Jesse can't touch you without starting a war. That's not as comforting as you think it is. Later, after Owen has deposited her back in her rooms and left to help Cade deal with the political fallout, Nora finds Finn playing with toy cars on the floor. He looks up as she enters, his honey-colored eyes bright and healthy in ways they haven't been for months. Mommy, look how fast this one goes. He races a toy car across the hardwood, making engine noises. Nora sinks down beside him, pulling him into her arms. Whatever happens next, whatever consequences her actions bring, at least he's safe. At least he's getting better. She can face anything else as long as she has that. But as darkness falls over the estate, and she tucks Finn into bed, Nora can't shake the memory of Jesse Callahan's eyes, or the promise of violence she saw there. She's made herself a target, and she has no idea how to protect herself in a world where the monsters are real and the rules are written in blood. Chapter 4. Unexpected Tenderness. The morning sun filters through the tall windows of the training yard, casting long shadows across the packed earth. Nora watches from the covered porch as Finn runs in circles, his laughter bright and clear in the crisp air. 2 months ago, he could barely walk across a room without exhaustion. Now he moves with an energy that borders on frenetic, his small body responding to instincts he doesn't yet understand. He's getting stronger, Victoria says, appearing beside Nora with 2 mugs of coffee. She hands one over, steam rising in lazy spirals. The treatments are working better than I expected. His body is finally accepting what it is. What he is, Nora corrects quietly, wrapping her hands around the warm ceramic. A shifter. Half shifter, Victoria clarifies. But yes, in another month he'll start experiencing partial shifts. Nothing dramatic. His eyes might flash gold. His canines might extend slightly. He'll need guidance through that transition. Nora's stomach tightens with anxiety she can't quite name. I don't know how to teach him any of that. I don't even know what I am, not really. Victoria's expression softens. You're his mother. That's what matters most. But Cade has offered to help with the shifter-specific aspects. If you're comfortable with that. Before Nora can respond, Cade himself emerges from the main house, dressed in simple jeans and a dark shirt. He moves across the yard toward Finn, who spots him and immediately runs over with the fearless enthusiasm only children possess. Cade, watch this. Finn demonstrates what appears to be an attempted cartwheel, landing in a tangled heap that would have worried Nora 6 weeks ago. Now she knows his shifter healing will handle any scrapes or bruises almost instantly. Cade crouches down to Finn's level, and Nora finds herself transfixed by the gentleness in his movements. This is the Alpha King, the man who commands respect from 200 shifters, who arbitrates disputes between territorial predators, and he's helping a 4-year-old dust off his knees with infinite patience. That was a good try, Cade says, his deep voice carrying across the yard. But you're putting too much weight on your leading hand. Here, let me show you. What follows is 15 minutes of Cade teaching Finn how to properly execute a cartwheel, complete with demonstrations that make the Alpha King look absurdly graceful. Finn's delighted shrieks fill the air each time he successfully completes the movement, and something in Nora's chest clenches painfully. He's good with children, Victoria observes. Always has been. I wouldn't have expected that from him. Most people don't. Victoria sips her coffee, her gaze distant. They see the Alpha King, the authority, the power, and forget there's a man underneath. A man who lost his younger sister when she was barely older than Finn is now. Nora's attention snaps to Victoria. What happened? Cade's sister, Lily was her name, was born with a degenerative condition. Not dissimilar to what Finn had, actually, though hers was purely genetic rather than a conflict between human and shifter nature. The Alpha before Cade, his father's predecessor, refused to authorize treatment. He believed weak bloodlines should be culled, that spending resources on a child who might not survive was wasteful. Victoria's jaw tightens. Lily died when she was 7. Cade was 18, old enough to understand, but too young to have any real power to change things. Horror washes through Nora. That's barbaric. That's the old way. When Cade became Alpha King 6 years ago, one of his first acts was to completely overhaul medical resource allocation. No child is denied treatment now, regardless of their bloodline or prognosis. It's one of the reasons some of the older alphas resent him. They see it as weakness, as sentimentality clouding judgment. Nora watches Cade lift Finn onto his shoulders, the boy's hands tangled in his dark hair as they walk toward the tree line. He's not weak. No. Victoria agrees. He's not. But in our world, compassion is often mistaken for weakness. It's a dangerous perception for a leader to carry. The conversation stays with Nora throughout the day as she works in the administrative offices, filing reports, and organizing the endless paperwork that apparently even supernatural beings generate. She finds herself distracted, her mind wandering to Cade and Finn, exploring the forest together, to the way Cade's expression softened when he looked at her son. By evening, when she finally makes her way back to their quarters, she finds Finn already in his pajamas, chattering excitedly to Owen about everything he saw in the woods. And then Cade showed me how to find North using the moss on trees. And we saw deer, and he said maybe next time I can try tracking them, and Finn finally notices his mother. Mommy, we found a waterfall. That sounds amazing, baby. Nora ruffles his curls, then looks at Owen. Thank you for watching him. Actually, Cade just dropped him off a few minutes ago. Said he had council business to attend to, but wanted to make sure you knew Finn had dinner already. Owen stands, stretching. The The kid's got good instincts. Cade thinks he'll be an excellent tracker once he's older. After Owen leaves and Finn is tucked into bed, still talking drowsily about his adventure, Nora finds herself restless. She should be tired. She's been working since dawn. But something pulls her toward the main house, toward the wing where she knows Cade's private offices are located. She finds him in his study, bent over maps spread across a massive desk, his dark hair falling forward as he traces territorial boundaries with one finger. He doesn't look up when she knocks softly on the open door. "Come in, Nora." She steps inside, suddenly uncertain why she came. "I wanted to thank you for spending time with Finn today. He hasn't stopped talking about it. He's a good kid." Cade finally looks up, and there's something in his silver-gray eyes that makes her breath catch. Smart, curious, brave. You've done well with him. I've done my best. Nora moves closer to the desk, looking at the maps. "What are you working on?" "Territorial disputes. Jesse Callahan has been testing our borders again, pushing his patrols closer to Kingdom lands." Cade's expression darkens. "He's looking for any excuse to escalate. Because of me. Because he's been looking for ways to undermine my authority for years. You just gave him a convenient focal point." Cade leans back in his chair, studying her with an intensity that should be uncomfortable, but somehow isn't. "Don't take responsibility for his choices, Nora. Jesse would have found another excuse if you hadn't existed. Victoria told me about your sister." The change in Cade's expression is immediate. Surprise, then a flash of old pain carefully controlled. "Did she? I'm sorry. I can't imagine losing someone like that. Watching them suffer when treatment existed but was denied." Nora hesitates, then continues. "It explains a lot about why you helped us. Why you didn't just turn me over to the police. I helped you because it was the right thing to do." Cade stands, moving around the desk until he's close enough that she can feel the warmth radiating from him. "But yes, Lily's death shaped how I lead. I won't let politics or tradition stand in the way of saving a child. Not ever again." The conviction in his voice sends shivers down Nora's spine. This close, she can smell him. Pine and something darker. Something wild that calls to a part of her she's only recently begun to acknowledge. The attraction she's been trying to ignore for weeks flares hot and undeniable. "Nora." Her name is rough on his lips. "You should go." "Why?" She doesn't move. "Because you're under my protection, and that means certain lines can't be crossed. Because you're here because you had no other choice. And I won't take advantage of that." His hand lifts, almost touching her face before he catches himself. "Because if you stay much longer, I'm going to forget all the very good reasons why keeping distance between us is important." Nora's pulse races. She should listen, should walk away. But something reckless has taken root inside her. What if I don't want distance? Cade's eyes flash with something that isn't quite human. "You don't know what you're saying." "I know exactly what I'm saying." And suddenly she does. The awareness of him, the pull she's felt since that first night in her apartment, has been building into something undeniable. "I'm attracted to you, Cade. I have been for weeks. You're grateful." His voice is strained. "That's different. I can tell the difference between gratitude and attraction." Nora takes a deliberate step closer. "Can't you?" For a moment, she thinks he'll close the distance, that he'll kiss her, and they'll cross whatever line he's trying so hard to maintain. She can see the want in his eyes, feel the tension crackling between them. Then he steps back, and the moment shatters. "Victoria completed her investigation into your blood work," he says, his tone shifting to something more professional, though his eyes still burn with barely controlled hunger. "She found records. Your mother was an Omega who fled from a pack about 28 years ago. The records are incomplete. We don't know which pack yet, but we're working on it." The revelation should shock her, but somehow it doesn't. It explains the traces of shifter genetics in her blood. Explains why Finn carries abilities despite having a human father. "So I'm not entirely human," she says slowly. "No, you're not." Cade moves back to his desk, putting necessary space between them, which complicates things further. If word gets out about your bloodline, other packs might have claims on you under old laws regarding Omega fugitives and their descendants. Claims? Ownership claims. Omegas who flee their packs technically remain pack property under ancient law. Their children inherit that status. Cade's jaw tightens. It's an archaic, barbaric practice that I've been trying to eliminate, but change is slow. If the wrong people learn about your heritage before we can establish your independence legally, they could try to force you into servitude. Fear cuts through the lingering heat of attraction. You're saying I could be claimed by whatever pack my mother fled from? I'm saying I won't let that happen. There's steel in Cade's voice now. Absolute conviction. You're under my protection, Nora. That supersedes any historical claims. But we need to move carefully. We need to find out which pack your mother came from, and why she ran before someone else does. Nora sinks into one of the leather chairs facing his desk, her mind racing. Every answer seems to come with 10 new questions, and she's not sure she wants to know what other secrets her bloodline holds. Get some rest, Cade says, more gently now. We'll figure this out. I promise. As Nora makes her way back to her quarters, she can still feel the ghost of that almost touch, the heat of Cade's gaze. The attraction between them is real and growing stronger, but now it's tangled up with politics and ancient laws and dangers she's only beginning to understand. The moon rises over the Kingdom estate, and somewhere in the distance, a wolf howls. Nora stands at her window, watching shadows move through the trees, and wonders what other revelations await. Chapter 5. Ancient Claims. The alarm sounds at dawn, pulling Nora from restless sleep. It's not the gentle chime that signals morning routines on the Kingdom estate. This is harsh, insistent, the kind of sound that means danger. She's out of bed before she's fully conscious, checking on Finn, who stirs groggily in his small bed. Mommy, what's that noise? I don't know, baby. Stay here. She pulls on clothes quickly, her heart hammering. Through the window, she can see shifters moving with urgent purpose toward the main gates, and her stomach drops. Owen appears at her door moments later, his expression grim. Cade wants you in his office. Now. What's happening? Jesse Callahan is at our borders with a dozen of his pack members. He's demanding an audience with the council. Owen's jaw tightens. He's demanding you. The walk to Cade's office feels too short. Nora's mind races with possibilities, none of them good. When she enters, she finds Cade standing at the window, his posture rigid with barely controlled tension. Victoria is there too, along with several other high-ranking pack members. Nora. Cade turns, and the intensity in his silver-gray eyes makes her breath catch. Jesse has discovered something about your bloodline. Something that gives him legal grounds to make a claim on you. What kind of claim? The worst kind. Victoria steps forward, her expression apologetic. Your mother didn't just flee from any pack. She fled from Nightfang, Jesse's pack. We found birth records that match your description, your approximate age. Even the distinctive scar on your forearm that your mother apparently had as well. Nora's hand moves instinctively to the thin scar she's carried since childhood, the one her foster parents said she'd had when they took her in. How did Jesse know to look for that? Because he's been hunting for your mother's descendants for decades. Cade's voice is tight with anger. Your mother was part of a rare bloodline within Nightfang, and Jesse believes that gives him ownership rights over you and Finn under ancient pack law. Ownership? The word tastes like poison. I'm not property. Under human law, no. Under shifter law. Victoria hesitates. It's complicated. The laws regarding Omega fugitives and their descendants are ancient and problematic. Cade has been working to eliminate them, but they're still technically valid in certain circumstances. So what does that mean? Nora looks between them, fear clawing at her throat. He can just take us? Over my dead body. Cade's voice carries absolute conviction. You're under kingdom protection. That supersedes any historical claims from another pack. But Jesse is demanding a council hearing, and I can't refuse without looking like I'm abusing my authority. When? This afternoon. He's invoked emergency protocol. Cade moves closer, and Nora can feel the heat of his barely contained fury. I need you to trust me, Nora. Whatever happens in that hearing, whatever Jesse says, I will not let him take you or Finn. Do you understand? She wants to believe him, but the fear is overwhelming. What if the council sides with him? Then we'll find another way. The council chamber feels different this time, charged with tension that makes the air thick and hard to breathe. All 20 alphas are present, and Jesse Callahan stands at the center of the room with the confidence of someone who believes he's already won. Nora stands beside Cade, acutely aware of every eye on her. Finn is safe with trusted pack members, far from whatever is about to unfold. "Let's begin," announces Elder Thorne, the oldest alpha present. "Jesse Callahan of Nightfang Pack has made a formal claim regarding one Nora Reed. Present your evidence." Jesse steps forward, pulling out documents that look ancient, the paper yellowed with age. 28 years ago, an Omega named Sarah Reed fled Nightfang territory while pregnant. She was part of the Shadow Wolf bloodline, a rare and valuable lineage that belongs to Nightfang by right of ancestral covenant. That Omega disappeared without trace, but her child survived. His eyes fix on Nora. This woman bears the physical markers consistent with Sarah Reed's daughter. The distinctive scar pattern on her right forearm, the unusual amber gold eye color, even her facial structure matches old photographs. He spreads photos across the table. Images of a woman who could be Nora's twin, just slightly older. The resemblance is undeniable. "By ancient law," Jesse continues, "descendants of fugitive Omegas remain property of their mother's original pack. I claim Nora Reed and her son as Nightfang Pack members, to be returned to our territory immediately." The chamber erupts in murmurs. Some alphas nod in agreement, citing tradition. Others look uncomfortable, glancing at Cade. "Your claim is noted," Elder Thorne says. "Cade Ironfang, as Alpha King and current protector of the accused, you may respond." Cade stands, and his presence fills the room. Jesse's interpretation of ancient law is convenient, but incomplete. Yes, those laws exist, but they were written in a time when Omegas had no rights, when they were treated as property. I've been working to abolish these laws precisely because they're barbaric and outdated. Nora Reed is a free individual under my protection. She owes Nightfang nothing. She owes Nightfang her bloodline. Jesse counters. "Shadow Wolf genetics are Nightfang heritage. Her mother stole that when she fled, and now I'm reclaiming what was taken. You're not reclaiming anything. You're trying to enslave a woman who's done nothing wrong." "She's a thief who broke into your own medical depot," Jesse says smoothly, "hardly innocent. A crime for which she's already serving restitution under my judgment." The argument continues, legal precedents flying back and forth, but Nora barely hears it. Her mind is racing, looking for solutions, for any way out of this nightmare. Her gaze falls on one of the law books she'd been studying, still sitting on a side table from the last council meeting. Trial by challenge. The ancient right that allows any shifter to contest claims against them through physical combat. She'd read about it extensively, fascinated by the brutal simplicity of it. "There's another option." Her voice cuts through the argument, surprising everyone, including herself. Jesse's eyes narrow. The human speaks? "I invoke trial by challenge." The words feel strange on her tongue, formal and weighted with significance she's only beginning to understand. "If Jesse Callahan believes he has a valid claim on me, let him prove it in combat. If he wins, I'll accept his authority. If I win, his claim is void forever." The chamber goes silent. Several alphas lean forward with interest. "You can't be serious," Owen hisses from behind her. "Nora, you don't know what you're doing." "I know exactly what I'm doing." She meets Jesse's gaze steadily. "I read the laws. This is my right as someone with shifter blood, isn't it?" Elder Thorne strokes his beard. "It is, though rarely invoked by those of partial blood. Jesse Callahan, do you accept this challenge?" Jesse's smile is cold, gladly, though it seems cruel to fight someone so clearly outmatched. "She can barely shift, from what I understand. Then you should have no problem winning." Nora forces confidence into her voice she doesn't feel. 1 week from today. That's the traditional preparation time, correct? Correct. Elder Thorne looks to Cade. "You understand you cannot interfere once the challenge is accepted? Ancient law forbids any outside help during the trial period." Cade's jaw is so tight Nora can see the muscle jumping. "I understand." "Then it's settled." Elder Thorne strikes his gavel. 7 days from now at dawn, Nora Reed will face Jesse Callahan in trial by challenge. The winner's claim stands absolute. As the council disperses, Jesse passes close to Nora on his way out. "You just made a fatal mistake," he murmurs. I don't need to kidnap you now. I just need to wait 7 days and take you legally after I rip your throat out. We'll see." After he's gone, Cade rounds on her, fury and fear warring in his expression. "What were you thinking? He's a full alpha, Nora. He's been fighting his entire life. You can't even fully shift yet." "I was thinking that I'm not going to be property. Not his. Not anyone's." Nora's hands are shaking, but her voice stays steady. "You said yourself you can't let the council think you're abusing your authority. This way, it's my choice. My fight. It's suicide. Then teach me." She steps closer, looking up at him. "You said you couldn't interfere once the challenge was accepted. But until then, I'm still under your protection. Still learning about what I am. Teach me, Cade. Give me a chance." Owen speaks up quietly. She's right. The law says no interference during the trial itself, but preparation is fair game. Cade stares at Nora for a long moment, 100 emotions flickering across his face. Finally, he nods. 7 days, he says grimly. 7 days to unlock abilities you should have had your whole life, to teach you to fight like a shifter, to somehow make you strong enough to survive against one of the most vicious alphas in the territory. His hand cups her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. "You better be ready to work harder than you've ever worked in your life." "I am." "Good. Because we start now." As Cade leads her from the chamber, Nora catches Victoria's expression. Concern mixed with something that might be respect. She's just committed to fighting a predator in single combat, gambling her life and Finn's freedom on her ability to access powers she's only recently learned she possesses. 7 days to become something she's never been. 7 days to learn to be a wolf instead of prey. 7 days to discover if her mother's bloodline carries enough strength to keep her alive. The sun is setting over Kingdom territory, painting the sky in shades of blood and fire. Somewhere in the distance, a wolf howls, and Nora feels something answer in her chest. Faint but undeniable, the first stirring of the beast that sleeps in her bones. She has 7 days to wake it up. Chapter 6, Shadow and Fire. Day 3 of training, and Nora's body feels like it's tearing itself apart from the inside. She kneels in the dirt of the private training grounds, gasping for breath as another wave of pain crashes through her. Her hands shake violently, fingers elongating into something not quite human before snapping back to normal, with a sickening sensation that makes her stomach turn. Breathe through it. Cade's voice is steady, but she can hear the strain underneath. "Don't fight the shift. Let it happen." "I can't." The words come out broken. "It hurts too much." "I know." He crouches beside her, close enough that she can feel his warmth, but not touching. 3 days of this torture, and he hasn't touched her once during the shifts, as if afraid physical contact might make things worse. Your body is trying to access abilities it's never used. It's like forcing a muscle that's been dormant your entire life to suddenly carry weight. But you're getting closer. I can feel it. Nora looks at her hands, watching her nails darken and sharpen before returning to normal. The partial shifts have been happening more frequently over the past 72 hours. Flashes of gold in her eyes when she's angry. Her canines extending when she's frightened. Claws erupting from her fingertips during moments of extreme stress. Each time the pain is excruciating, and each time she can't sustain it for more than a few seconds. "Jesse is going to kill me," she says flatly. "Not if we unlock your full shift first." Cade stands, offering his hand. Again. This time think about Finn. Think about what you're protecting. Nora takes his hand, and electricity shoots through her at the contact. Over 3 days of intensive training, something has shifted between them. The attraction that's been simmering since she arrived has intensified into something that feels dangerous and inevitable. She catches him watching her when he thinks she's not looking, sees the hunger in his eyes before he locks it away behind alpha authority. She feels it too. The pull toward him that has nothing to do with gratitude and everything to do with the way her body responds to his presence, the way something inside her recognizes him on a level that transcends logic. "Ready?" he asks. She nods, releasing his hand and stepping back. Closing her eyes, Nora focuses on Finn's face, on the memory of him struggling to breathe, on the fear that Jesse will take him. Rage builds in her chest, hot and wild, and she reaches for it, pulls it closer. The shift begins. Her bones start to reshape, muscles tearing and reforming. Her vision sharpens, colors becoming more vivid. She can smell everything. The earth beneath her feet, the trees surrounding them. Cade's scent of pine, and something uniquely him that makes her want to move closer. Then the pain hits. A white-hot agony that steals her breath. Her body convulses, caught between human and wolf, neither one nor the other. A scream tears from her throat as her spine tries to realign itself, as her face begins to elongate before snapping back. "Hold it," Cade urges. "Just a few more seconds." But she can't. The shift collapses, leaving her gasping and human on the ground. Blood trickles from her nose, and her entire body trembles with exhaustion. Cade is beside her instantly, his hands finally making contact, gentle on her shoulders. "That was better. You held it almost 15 seconds that time. 15 seconds won't be enough. It's progress." His thumb brushes her cheek, wiping away blood she didn't realize was there. The gesture is tender, intimate, and when their eyes meet, the air between them crackles with tension. "Cade." His name is a whisper. "I know." His hand lingers against her face. "I feel it too." They stay frozen in that moment, both aware they're crossing lines that should remain firmly in place. Then Owen's voice cuts through the silence. "Alpha, Victoria needs to see you both immediately." She says it's urgent. Victoria's medical facility is all chrome and sterile white, but her expression carries weight that has nothing to do with clinical detachment. She spreads papers across her desk. Test results, blood work analyses, genetic mapping that looks impossibly complex. "I've been running deeper tests on your blood samples," Victoria says without preamble, "looking for anything that might explain why your shifts are so difficult, why you can't seem to stabilize your transformation. And," Nora grips the edge of the desk, "you're not just descended from an Omega bloodline. You're Shadow Wolf." Victoria's voice carries awe and concern in equal measure. One of the rarest shifter lineages in existence. Most people believe they're extinct. Cade goes very still beside her. "Are you certain?" "Completely. The genetic markers are unmistakable once you know what to look for. Shadow wolves possess an ability no other shifter can replicate. They can mask their presence entirely. Scent, sound, even their physical forms can become nearly invisible when they choose." Victoria looks at Nora. "That's why your shifts are so painful. You're not just trying to become a wolf. You're trying to access abilities that require an entirely different level of control. Shadow wolves," Nora repeats, the words feeling strange. "What else can they do? They're natural spies and infiltrators. In ancient times, they were sought after by every pack for espionage and assassination work. They were also hunted nearly to extinction because of how dangerous they were perceived to be." Victoria's expression grows darker. "If Jesse knows what you are, and I suspect he does, then his interest in you isn't just about ancient ownership laws." Cade's jaw tightens. "He wants to use her abilities against the kingdom. If he can control a shadow wolf, he could infiltrate our territory undetected, gather intelligence, even position assassins without anyone knowing." "Exactly." Victoria pulls up another file. "I did some digging into Nightfang pack history. 28 years ago, they had 3 shadow wolf females. All of them fled within a 6-month period. Jesse's father was known for forcing shadow wolves to commit acts they found morally repugnant. Assassinations of rival alphas, theft of pack secrets, even murdering pack members who challenged his authority." Nora's stomach turns. "My mother fled to protect me from that. I believe so." "And Jesse has been hunting for shadow wolf descendants ever since, hoping to rebuild what his father lost." Victoria meets Nora's eyes. The trial by challenge isn't just about ownership. It's a trap with multiple outcomes that benefit Jesse. If he wins, he gains control of you and your abilities. If he loses but you kill him, you become a murderer in front of the entire council, which could turn public opinion against Cade for harboring you. If Cade interferes to save you, he breaks ancient law and loses credibility as Alpha King. "And if I win without killing him?" Nora asks. "Then Jesse's claim is void forever, and you remain free." Victoria's tone suggests she doesn't believe that outcome is likely. "But Nora, You need to understand what you're up against. Jesse has been an alpha for 20 years. He's killed challengers, survived pack wars, and he fights with the ruthlessness of someone who's never known defeat. Your partial shifts won't be enough. The room falls silent, the weight of Victoria's words settling over them. Nora thinks about Finn sleeping safely in their quarters, unaware his mother is preparing to fight a monster to keep him free. She thinks about the pain of the partial shifts, about how her body rebels against becoming what it should naturally be. There has to be a way to accelerate the process, Cade says finally. Some way to push through her body's resistance. Victoria hesitates. There is one method, but it's dangerous and incredibly painful. Tell me. Forced transformation through the mate bond. Victoria's gaze moves between them. If a potential mate's presence can trigger protective instincts strong enough, it can override the body's natural resistance to shifting. But it requires emotional vulnerability, requires lowering every defense. And the process, she trails off. It could kill her if her body isn't ready. Nora's heart pounds. What do you mean, mate bond? Cade's silence speaks volumes. When she turns to look at him, she sees confirmation in his eyes. He's known. Maybe not consciously at first, but he's known. You feel it, Victoria says gently. Both of you have felt it growing stronger. The recognition, the pull toward each other, the way your bodies respond when you're near. That's a mate bond forming. It's rare between an alpha and someone of mixed blood, but with Shadow Wolf genetics. She shakes her head. Your bloodline is powerful, Nora. Powerful enough to call to an alpha king. Nora can't process this. The attraction she's felt, the connection she's tried to dismiss. It's not just chemistry. It's something fundamental, something written into her very DNA. I can't ask you to do this, Cade says, his voice rough. The mate bond isn't something to manipulate for tactical advantage. It's what we have, Nora interrupts. 4 days until the trial, and I can barely hold a partial shift for 20 seconds. If this is our best option, then we take it. You don't understand what you're agreeing to. The emotional connection required, the vulnerability. I understand that if I don't figure out how to shift completely, Jesse wins. And if Jesse wins, Finn grows up as property, trained to be an assassin or a spy, or whatever else Jesse wants to use him for. Nora stands, facing Cade fully. I understand that you've been protecting us since the night you showed up at my door. I understand that you've given me more kindness than I had any right to expect. And I understand that whatever is happening between us is real, whether we want it to be or not. Cade's eyes flash gold. Nora, can you do it? Can you help me access the full shift through this bond? He stares at her for a long moment, and she can see the war playing out across his features. Duty versus desire, protection versus possession. Finally, he nods. Yes, but you need to be certain. Once we start down this path, once the mate bond is fully acknowledged and activated, there's no taking it back. I'm certain. Victoria stands, gathering her files. I'll give you privacy. You'll need it for what comes next. At the door, she pauses. For what it's worth, I think you're both braver than you realize. After she's gone, Cade and Nora stand facing each other in the sterile medical facility, the air between them charged with possibility and danger. How does this work? Nora asks, her voice steadier than she feels. We stop fighting what we feel. We let the bond strengthen naturally. Let it guide your transformation. Cade steps closer, close enough that she can feel the heat of him. But Nora, you need to know. Mate bonds are permanent. If we do this, if we forge this connection fully, you'll be bound to me for life. Is that really what you want? She thinks about the past few weeks, about how safe she's felt here despite the danger, about the way Cade looks at Finn with gentle patience, about the electricity that sparks every time they touch. Ask me again after I survive the trial, she says. Right now, I just need to make sure Finn has a future. Everything else can wait. Cade's laugh is low and pained. Always protecting others, never yourself. That's what mothers do. That's what shadow wolves do too, apparently. Victoria sent me the full history files. Your ancestors weren't just assassins and spies. They were protectors guardians who used their abilities to defend those who couldn't defend themselves. His hand cups her face, and this time he doesn't pull away. You're more like them than you know. When he kisses her, it's gentle at first. A question rather than a demand. But Nora's response ignites something wild in both of them. The kiss deepens, becomes desperate, and she feels heat flood through her body that has nothing to do with shifting and everything to do with him. Power surges between them, the mate bond flaring bright and undeniable. Nora gasps against his mouth as her body responds. Her wolf rising closer to the surface than it's ever been. Her vision sharpens, her hearing intensifies, and for just a moment, she feels what it's like to be whole. Then the pain hits, and Cade holds her as her body convulses with another partial shift. But this time, when she comes back to herself, something has changed. The bond between them pulses strong and steady, a golden thread connecting her heart to his. 4 days, she whispers against his chest. We have 4 days to make this work. Then we'd better not waste them. Outside Victoria's facility, the moon rises full and bright over Kingdom territory. Somewhere in the forest, wolves run free, and Nora can almost imagine what it will feel like to join them. Almost imagine becoming the predator instead of the prey. 4 days until she faces Jesse Callahan in combat. 4 days to unlock abilities that have been dormant her entire life. 4 days to discover if a mate bond can be the key to survival. The shadow and the fire intertwined. It's either salvation or destruction. She's about to find out which. Chapter 7. Blood and Shadow. Dawn breaks cold and pale over the Kingdom estate. Nora stands at the window of her quarters, watching the arena being prepared below. Wooden barriers have been erected, creating a circular space where dozens of alphas already gather, their breaths misting in the morning air. This is it. 7 days of brutal training, of partial shifts that tore her apart and barely stitched her back together, all leading to this moment. Mommy? Finn's small voice makes her turn. He stands in his pajamas, his honey-colored eyes, so much like hers, wide with concern. Are you leaving? Just for a little while, baby. She kneels, pulling him close. His heartbeat is steady and strong now, so different from the fragile flutter it used to be. Whatever happens today, at least she gave him this. Health. A future. I'll be back soon, I promise. Owen says you're going to fight a bad wolf. Finn's lower lip trembles. What if he hurts you? Then I'll hurt him back. She tries to smile, but it feels wrong on her face. Remember what Cade taught you about being brave? Sometimes being brave means fighting for the people you love. I love you, Mommy. I love you too, Finn. More than anything. She kisses his forehead, breathing in his scent, committing it to memory, just in case. Owen arrives to take Finn somewhere safe, somewhere he won't have to watch his mother possibly die. As they leave, Cade appears in the doorway. He's dressed simply. Dark jeans, a black shirt, but there's something in his posture that speaks of barely controlled violence. How are you feeling? He asks. Terrified. The truth comes easily now. 7 days of forced vulnerability through the mate bond has stripped away her ability to lie to him. I can feel the shift closer now, but I don't know if I can hold it long enough. What if I freeze? What if the pain... You won't freeze. Cade crosses the room, cupping her face in his hands. You're the strongest person I've ever met, Nora. You stole from me to save your son. You stood up to Jesse in front of the entire council. You've endured pain that would have broken most shifters and kept pushing forward. You won't freeze. The mate bond pulses between them, warm and steady. It's grown stronger over the past week, fed by stolen moments of connection. His hands teaching hers how to fight, their bodies learning each other's rhythms, their wolves recognizing what their human halves were afraid to admit. If I don't make it, don't. His voice cracks. Don't say it. If I don't make it, she continues firmly. Promise me you'll protect Finn. Promise me he'll grow up free. That he'll never be what Jesse wanted to make him. I promise. Cade's forehead rests against hers. But you're going to make it. You're going to walk out of that arena, and then we're going to figure out what comes next. Together. When he kisses her, it's desperate and tender. A goodbye that neither of them wants to say. The mate bond flares bright, and Nora feels her wolf stir in response, closer to the surface than it's ever been. "It's time," Owen calls from the doorway. The arena is packed. Every alpha from the council is present, along with their senior pack members. Nora spots Victoria in the crowd, her expression carefully neutral. Owen stands near Cade, who's positioned himself where ancient law demands. Close enough to witness, but far enough to prove he won't interfere. Jesse Callahan waits in the center of the arena, already in wolf form. He's massive, his dark brown fur rippling over muscles honed by decades of combat. His eyes are cold and calculating as they track Nora's approach. This is a predator who's killed before, who knows exactly how to end a life efficiently. Nora steps through the barrier, and the crowd's murmur dies. She's dressed in simple clothes that will tear easily when she shifts, if she shifts. The morning air is cold against her skin, and she can smell everything with her enhanced senses. Blood from old fights soaked into the dirt. Jesse's confidence, Cade's barely controlled fear. Elder Thorne steps forward to recite the ancient words that bind them to this trial. Nora barely hears him. Her entire focus is on Jesse, on the way he moves, on calculating angles and distances like Cade taught her. She reaches for her wolf, feeling it coiled inside her, waiting. "Begin," Elder Thorne declares. Jesse doesn't waste time on posturing. He lunges, a blur of fur and fangs that covers the distance between them in seconds. Nora dodges, but his claws catch her shoulder, tearing through fabric and skin. Pain explodes through her, and blood flows hot down her arm. The crowd gasps. First blood to Jesse. He circles her, teeth bared in what might be a wolf's version of a smile. He's playing with her, she realizes, demonstrating to everyone watching just how outmatched she is, how foolish her challenge was. Nora reaches for the shift. Her bones begin to reshape, her vision sharpening. But the pain hits like it always does, stealing her breath, and the transformation stutters. She's caught in that agonizing space between human and wolf. Neither one nor the other. Jesse strikes again. His jaws close around her leg, and Nora screams as fangs pierce muscle. He shakes his head viciously, the way wolves do when killing prey, and she feels bones crack. The shift collapses entirely, leaving her human and bleeding in the dirt. "Get up!" someone shouts. Owen, maybe, or Victoria. But the words sound distant, muffled. Jesse releases her leg, circling again. He's taking his time, making this last. Humiliating her before he kills her. In the crowd, she can feel Cade's anguish through the mate bond. Can sense him fighting every instinct to rush into the arena and save her. But he can't. If he interferes, he breaks ancient law and loses everything. Jesse made sure of that. Nora struggles to her knees, her injured leg screaming in protest. Blood soaks the ground beneath her. This is it, she thinks. This is how it ends. Finn will grow up without her, property of a monster who'll turn him into a weapon. That thought. Finn's future stolen. Finn trained to kill. Finn losing everything his mother tried to give him. Ignites something in her chest. Not just anger. Rage. Pure incandescent fury that burns away the pain. Burns away the fear. Burns away everything except the need to protect her child. Jesse lunges for the killing blow, jaws wide, going for her throat. The shift hits like lightning. Nora's body explodes into transformation, but this time there's no pain. There's only power, only rightness, only the feeling of finally becoming what she was always meant to be. Her bones reshape in seconds, her muscles reforming, fur erupting across her skin. The world shifts into sharper focus. Colors more vivid, scents more complex. She meets Jesse mid-lunge as a wolf. But not just any wolf. Her fur is midnight black, marked with silver patterns that seem to shimmer in the morning light. She's smaller than Jesse, built for speed rather than power. But there's something in her presence that makes the watching alphas go silent. Shadow Wolf, the legends made flesh. Jesse's confidence wavers. She can smell it on him. The first hint of fear. They collide in a tangle of fur and fangs. Jesse has experience, but Nora has instinct, has abilities coded into her DNA that her wolf knows how to use even if her human mind doesn't. She moves in ways that shouldn't be possible, her form seeming to blur at the edges, making it hard for Jessie to track her exact position. When she strikes, it's surgical, a bite to his shoulder that tears muscle, claws raking across his ribs. She's not trying to kill him. Some part of her human consciousness is still present, still making choices. She's trying to win. Jessie rallies, his superior size and strength turning the tide briefly. He manages to pin her, his jaws closing around her throat. The crowd holds its breath. One bite, and it's over. But Nora's shadow wolf abilities activate fully for the first time. Her scent disappears entirely, confusing Jessie's senses. In that moment of confusion, she twists free, using her smaller size to slip from his grip. The fight becomes brutal, vicious, neither giving ground. Blood stains the dirt, both hers and his. Nora can feel her strength waning, can feel her body wanting to collapse from the sheer energy required to maintain both the shift and her shadow abilities. But every time she considers giving up, she thinks of Finn, of his laugh, of his questions about why the sky is blue and whether wolves dream, of his absolute trust that his mother will always protect him. She finds strength she didn't know she possessed. Jessie makes a mistake. He overextends on a lunge, and Nora sees her opening. She moves like water, like shadow, getting inside his guard. Her jaws close around his throat, not hard enough to tear, but hard enough to make her point. She has him. She can end this right now. The arena goes silent. Jessie goes still beneath her, recognizing defeat. One bite, and he dies. Everyone knows it. But Nora releases him. She steps back, shifting to human form, despite the exhaustion that makes her legs shake. Blood runs from a dozen wounds and her leg might be broken. But she's standing. She's alive. I win, she says, her voice carrying across the arena. Your claim is void. Jessie shifts human, clutching his torn shoulder. His expression is twisted with humiliation and rage. For a moment, Nora thinks he might attack again, might refuse to honor the trial's outcome. Then something in him breaks. Maybe it's the defeat, or maybe it's the weight of decades of plots finally collapsing. You want to know why I really wanted you? His laugh is bitter. The Shadow Wolf abilities were valuable, yes, but the real plan was simpler. I needed you to infiltrate Kingdom territory, to use your abilities to position assassins. I was going to force you to kill Cade, or watch your son die slowly. He looks at Cade now, his smile vicious. But I had a backup plan too. I gambled that the great Alpha King would break his own laws to save his precious human. If you'd interfered, Cade, I'd have had grounds to challenge your authority. Either way, I won. Or I should have. The watching alphas erupt in outrage. Several move toward Jessie, but Elder Thorn raises his hand. Jessie Callahan, you have admitted to plotting the assassination of the Alpha King and attempting to manipulate sacred trial laws for personal gain. His voice carries judgment. You are stripped of your Alpha status effective immediately and banished from all Pack territories. The Council will appoint new leadership for Nightfang Pack. Jessie's face goes white. For an Alpha, losing their position is worse than death. He's lost everything. Power, Pack, purpose. As guards move to escort him from the arena, Jessie's eyes meet Nora's one last time. She sees hatred there, but also something that might be grudging respect. She beat him. A half-blood who could barely shift a week ago beat a 20-year veteran Alpha in single combat. Nora's legs finally give out. She collapses, but Cade is there before she hits the ground. Ancient law be damned now that the trial is complete. His arms wrap around her, and she can feel his relief through the mate bond, so intense it nearly overwhelms her. You did it, he whispers against her hair. My brilliant, impossible mate. You did it. Victoria rushes over with her medical kit, already barking orders. But Nora barely hears any of it. Her body is shutting down from exhaustion and blood loss, her consciousness flickering. The last thing she sees before darkness takes her is Finn breaking free from Owen's grip and running toward her, his small face streaked with tears but lit with joy. He's safe. He's free. She did it. Chapter 8. Choice and Freedom. Nora wakes to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows, and the steady beep of medical equipment. Her body feels like it's been torn apart and stitched back together, which, she supposes, isn't far from the truth. Every muscle aches, and her left leg throbs beneath layers of bandages. "You're awake." Cade's voice draws her attention. He sits in a chair beside the bed, looking exhausted. Dark circles shadow his silver-gray eyes, and his usually neat hair is disheveled. "You've been unconscious for 2 days." 2 days? Nora tries to sit up, but pain lances through her ribs. "Finn is fine. He's been here every day, but Owen took him for breakfast an hour ago. He wanted to be here when you woke up, but I didn't know when that would be." Cade moves closer, his hand finding hers on the blanket. "Victoria says you'll heal completely. The shifter healing is finally working properly now that you've achieved your first full transformation." Memories flood back. The arena, Jessie's confidence, the moment her wolf finally emerged fully. The feeling of power, of rightness, of becoming what she was always meant to be. "I won," she says, and it's still hard to believe. "You did more than win. You showed the entire council what shadow wolves are capable of. You showed them mercy when you could have killed Jessie." Cade's expression is proud, and something deeper. The council has been in session almost constantly since the trial. A lot has changed in 2 days. What kind of changes? The laws regarding Omega fugitives and their descendants have been abolished. Unanimous vote. No one can ever claim ownership of you or Finn again, no matter what pack your mother fled from. Cade's thumb traces patterns on the back of her hand. They've also voted to modernize several other ancient laws that treat certain shifters as property. Your trial became a catalyst for reform that I've been pushing for years. Relief washes through Nora so intensely it brings tears to her eyes. We're really free? Completely. Legally recognized as independent shifters under kingdom protection. Cade pauses. There's more. The council wants to formally acknowledge your bloodline. Shadow wolves were nearly driven to extinction because people feared them. But you've shown that fear was misplaced. They want to extend an official apology to your mother's line and offer reparations. Reparations? Nora laughs, but it hurts her ribs. What does that even mean? Territory, if you want it. Resources to rebuild Shadow Wolf knowledge and traditions. Recognition as a distinct bloodline with full rights within shifter society. Cade's gaze intensifies. They're offering you a position on the council itself, Nora. A seat at the table where decisions are made. The magnitude of this hits her. Weeks ago, she was a struggling single mother who didn't even know shifters existed. Now she's being offered political power in a world she's barely begun to understand. I don't know if I'm ready for that. You don't have to decide now. The offer stands whenever you want to accept it. Cade's expression shifts to something more vulnerable. But there's something else we need to discuss. The mate bond. Nora's breath catches. The bond still pulses between them, warm and steady. But in her exhausted state, she hasn't had time to process what it means. During the trial preparation, we activated the mate bond to help you access your shift. It worked, obviously. But Nora, you need to understand what that means. Cade's voice is careful, measured. Mate bonds are permanent. Once fully formed, they don't break. You'll always feel me, always be drawn to me, and I'll always feel you. It's not something that can be undone. I know. And she does. The reading she did in those early weeks included information about mate bonds, about how rare and precious they are. I also need you to know that you have a choice. Cade's words come faster now, like he's afraid if he doesn't say them quickly, he won't say them at all. The bond exists, but how we handle it is up to you. You came here because you had no other options. You stayed because your son needed treatment. You fought Jessie because you were trapped by ancient laws. I won't add another cage by demanding you accept me as your mate. Nora stares at him. At this powerful alpha king who's offering her freedom even though it clearly costs him. What do you want? I want you to choose me because you want to. Not because biology or circumstance forced you to. His voice drops lower. I want you to stay here. To build a life with me and Finn. To become my Luna and my partner in every sense. But only if that's what you want too. And if I say no? Pain flickers across his features, but his voice stays steady. Then we figure out how to coexist with the bond. I'll never force you, Nora. Never use my position or the bond to take away your choice. You've had too many people try to control you already. The door bursts open, and Finn rushes in, Owen trailing behind with an apologetic expression. Mommy, you're awake. Hey, baby. Nora opens her arms, and Finn carefully climbs onto the bed, mindful of her injuries. I missed you. I was so scared. His small body trembles. But Cade said you were really brave and that you won, and now the bad wolf can't ever hurt us. That's right. We're safe now. Both of us. Finn looks between his mother and Cade, and there's a wisdom in his 4-year-old eyes that seems too old for his age. Are you going to be sad if we leave? Cade's expression carefully neutral. I'd miss you both very much. But your mother gets to decide where you live and what's best for you. I like it here, Finn announces. I have friends, and Victoria lets me help in the medical place, and Cade teaches me stuff about wolves. Can we stay, Mommy? Please? Nora looks at her son, at the health and happiness radiating from him. Such a stark contrast to the sick child she was so desperate to save just months ago. Then she looks at Cade, at the man who's shown her more genuine care and respect than anyone in her life. The mate bond pulses between them, but that's not what makes her decision. It's the memory of Cade teaching Finn to do cartwheels, the way he's fought to change unjust laws, the patience he showed during her training. It's the fact that he's offering her choice when he could demand compliance. I spent my whole life being defined by what I had to do to survive, Nora says slowly. Working jobs I hated because I needed money. Stealing because I needed medicine. Always reacting, never choosing. For once, I want to do something because I want to, not because I have to. Cade's expression is carefully guarded, braced for rejection. I want to stay. The words come out clear and certain. Not because of the mate bond. Not because Finn is happy here. Not because I owe you. I want to stay because when I think about my future, you're in it. Because I've fallen in love with you somewhere between the terror and the training and the impossible situations you kept pulling me through. The tension in Cade's shoulders releases. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Nora reaches for his hand, and when their fingers intertwine, the mate bond flares bright and warm. Ask me properly. A smile breaks across Cade's face, transforming him from intimidating alpha king to just a man in love. He kneels beside the bed, careful not to jostle her injuries, and takes both her hands in his. Nora Reed, will you be my mate? Will you stand beside me as my equal, my partner, my Luna? Will you help me lead this territory and raise Finn and build something neither of us could create alone? Yes. The word feels like flying. To all of it, yes. When Cade kisses her, gentle and reverent, Finn makes exaggerated gagging sounds that break the moment into laughter. Owen, still standing in the doorway, is grinning. I'll inform the council, he says. They'll want to schedule the formal recognition ceremony. 3 weeks later, Nora stands before the assembled council, wearing ceremonial robes that Victoria insisted were traditional for Luna recognition ceremonies. Finn sits in the front row beside Owen, practically vibrating with excitement. The past weeks have been a whirlwind of healing, planning, and learning what it means to be Luna to an Alpha King. Elder Thorn steps forward, his ancient face solemn. We gather to formally recognize Nora Reed as Luna of Kingdom Territory and mate to Alpha King Cade Ironfang. This recognition is unprecedented. Never before has a Luna earned her position through combat, through demonstration of abilities rather than birth. He turns to address the assembled Alphas. This woman came to us as a thief, desperate and powerless. She could have been executed under old laws, dismissed as insignificant under ancient traditions. Instead, she showed us the flaws in our thinking. She survived impossible odds, accessed abilities we thought extinct, and showed mercy when she could have claimed vengeance. Nora feels Cade's presence beside her, steady and strong through the mate bond. Nora Reed has earned her position not through destiny or obligation, but through choice and merit. She represents what our society could become, a place where strength is measured by character rather than birthright, where old prejudices give way to new possibilities. Elder Thorn's voice rings through the chamber. Does any Alpha present challenge her right to stand as Luna? The silence is absolute. Even the Alphas who initially opposed her presence bow their heads in acknowledgement. Then, by the authority vested in me by the Council of Alphas, I recognize Nora Reed as Luna of Kingdom Territory. May her leadership be wise, her justice fair, and her protection absolute. Elder Thorn places a silver circlet on her head, not a crown, but a symbol of her position. Rise, Luna Nora, and take your place. Cade takes her hand, and together they face the council. The mate bond between them pulses with shared emotion. Pride, love, hope for what they'll build together. Finn's voice cuts through the formal moment. "That's my mom," he shouts, making several alphas smile despite the ceremony's solemnity. Later, after the formal proceedings have ended and the celebration has begun, Nora finds a quiet moment on the balcony overlooking Kingdom Territory. The estate spreads below her, alive with activity. Shifters move between buildings, children play in the commons, and in the distance, wolves run free in the forest. Having second thoughts? Cade joins her, wrapping his arms around her waist. No, just thinking about how much has changed. Nora leans back against him. Months ago, I was breaking into your medical depot, terrified and desperate. Now I'm Luna of the entire Kingdom Territory. It doesn't seem real. You earned every bit of it. You fought for it, bled for it, proved yourself worthy of it. Cade's breath is warm against her ear. I'm proud of you, Nora. Not just as your mate, but as someone who's watched you discover your strength. I couldn't have done it without you. You could have, but I'm grateful you didn't have to. He turns her to face him, ready for what comes next. Nora thinks about the responsibilities awaiting her, the council seat she's decided to accept, the work of helping other shadow wolves who might still be hiding in fear. She thinks about Finn growing up strong and free, about building a life with Cade, about finally having the family she's always wanted. More than ready. The sun sets over Kingdom Territory, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Inside the estate, music and laughter spill from the celebration. Finn is probably teaching other children the cartwheel technique Cade showed him. Victoria is likely ensuring everyone eats enough. Owen is undoubtedly coordinating everything with his usual efficiency. This is home now. Not because she had no other choice, but because she chose it. Because she fought for the right to choose and won. Nora Reed came to Kingdom Territory as a thief and a desperate mother. She became Luna through blood, determination, and the discovery of abilities she never knew she possessed. But most importantly, she became free. Free to choose her path, free to love without obligation, free to build a future on her own terms. The shadow wolf who spent her life in hiding has finally stepped into the light. And the light, she discovers, is exactly where she belongs.